So when we talk about small ruminants, they're probably one of the most difficult of the livestock species to hold in, mainly because they have such a small footprint. They're harder to shock. Of course, we have wooled sheep. So I'm going to show you a couple of different systems that I use here on the farm in Fauquier. This is what I found to sort of be the minimum that I can keep sheep in. So this is 9-strand polywire, and by 9 strands, I mean there's 9 conductive strands that actually run through here. You'll see different, there's 6. The 6 is a little bit cheaper, but I think with the sheep, having the more electrified strands actually works better. The height is important, and you're gonna see different setups depending on the sheep. I have quite a few club lambs that are in this group, and so if it's not tall enough, they simply just hop over it. And this is pretty much the about the lowest I can go as far as the top wire. The bottom 2 are closer, and that's mainly to keep the sheep from going under, and also because there are lambs present here right now, and so trying to keep them in. If the lambs got out, not such a big deal. This fence is going to have little to no predator control. They're still going to get in here, and that's not what it's for. This is basically just temporary fencing on rented ground to keep sheep in. As we talk about the other systems, this is the cheapest and the easiest to put up, and oftentimes I'll use this sort of around the isolated perimeters, but it'll eventually be replaced with permanent fencing. One of the most important things is that we have enough energizer to power this fence, because it's really important the sheep are trained to these electric fences and that you don't have a mess up early. It's really difficult to retrain the small ruminants after they've learned they can get through. Even if you do get the fence working properly, there just seems to be continuous pressure on it. This is electric netting. This is probably the fence I use the most with the sheep, especially during lambing time and any area that I'm going to have a lot of pressure on. We do a lot of rotational grazing. These come in 164 feet is the general. You can get some smaller ones, but if you look at price per foot, the 164 ends up being the cheapest. This is 36 inches tall. This is plenty tall. I've never had a ewe jump over it that I can recall. The great thing about being short, it's easier to work with. Taller fence is a lot of work and it's a lot heavier. So you'll see 48 inch just adds more weight and just more stuff to carry and get all tangled up. I'm a big fan of having the double stakes. You can buy them single stake and they are cheaper. This has a good foothold. The only issue with these could be on frozen ground. It's easier to get the one stake in, but here in Virginia, that's rarely a problem. We just don't get those continuous frozen conditions. These do stand up better, last longer, they're easier to put up. The metal stakes are better than the poly. They just last longer and they don't bend, so they go in the ground fairly easily. So the bottom is never hot. That's going to be in contact with the ground. And then you see our first actual electric wire is the next one up. The plastic stays work well. They hold the fence up well. They are an extra cost. You can get the ones that just actually have the same wire going down. They tend to sag a little bit, but they are quite a bit cheaper. You can get further apart spacings. Even when this fence is hot, you run the risk of, especially during training of an animal trying to insert its head through, it may not get shocked initially until it pushes forward. And maybe not such a big problem with an animal with no horns, but if you're looking at things like boar or goats, they get their head through here and the horns are going to catch. Then there's no way for them to pull them out. So you may want to go to either smaller spacing or just make sure they're well trained before they go in. Never use this fence if it's not electrified, because if it's not electrified and they find out, they will get tangled up in it. So here is the same fence from another company. They're both the same height, same spacing. They both have plastic downstays. This one is just doesn't have the foot panel on top of it. That one is nice. I mean, you don't slip off, but they accomplish the same things. This is the electric netting. I'm going to give a quick demonstration on putting it up because it's very important. And the first time you ever do it, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So that is just rolled up and the posts are gathered together. And I'll show you when we take it back up. So I'm going to put my initial post in the ground. After you unroll your fence, I've found that if we want a nice tight fence, we need to come back and start at the beginning to put our post in, rather than trying to pull it down and start and work back. We're going to end up with a loose fence. I always kick the bottom over, step it in. not very straight, but it's tight. Probably where most mistakes happen with electric netting is taking them up, making sure that they don't get tangled or wrapped around the feet. So as you can see, they're going to drape as we go up, and I'll demonstrate. We pull the post out of the ground, and then I generally like to set it down so that it's clear of the netting. Okay, and then I'll pick it up, and as you watch, this fence is going to fold over on itself. All right, and then it's important, we get tired, and I know we want to do it fast, but lay your fence out. Make sure all your points are down. Get it as square as you can, and then roll it up. And they have strands, so we'll pick one out, and then we'll simply tie it so we can move to the next area. Now everything is secure. We can pick this up. It's not going to get tangled. All of the stakes are free, and we can transport it to wherever we need it. This is a smart fence, kind of unique. It probably was originally designed for horses and doing small paddocks on things like trail rides. But I've found that for cross fencing for sheep, it's worked out quite well. It's really easy to use. There's 4 lines on here, 4 strands. If I loosen it off, I can pull the first one off. Here's actually a stake that has a single spike. And for the way this fence is used, it's very temporary. It's generally up for no more than a couple of days. I do use it during stockpile season, but rarely is it up in the winter. So I don't have much issue with it. This is going to be our end post, and one of the issues that we're going to have is as I pull forward, this post is going to want to come out the ground. Luckily on here we have these anchors that Sarah will show you. And so on our end post, we just pull that tight, step it in the ground, and then when I pull across the fence, it's actually going to be secure. And then I simply take off the next one, and I can continue across the field. It's shorter than our netting, but generally when we're setting it up, I can use this as a cross fence. The great thing about this is the wires can be adjustable. We simply take them loose here on the end, and then we can space them where we want. The spacing is pretty good for sheep. Yes, this is a big gap. I haven't had any issues, but I could actually lower this one if I had sheep that were actually trying to get through there. So pretty functional, fairly easy to take back up. And that's how the smart fence works. So when we talk about polywire, one of the things I like to stress is to have a good reel. When you look at these, this reel is probably about $60. This is a geared reel. So it's a 3-to-1 ratio, so it's gathering up 3 times as much with every rotation. I've simply attached this with a piece of baler twine. It's insulated. This handle, of course, is not hot. The only thing hot is on this reel, and the plastic is protecting us. So if I unhook it, this little thing here helps to keep it from spinning off to the sides. So it doesn't look like much, but actually if you do a lot of this, it's really handy. It's much easier to work with polywire on reels. You're thinking I have 3 strands, but this is the same strand that actually goes back and forth. For one, I just hate to cut polywire. Anytime we have to do it in a retie, we always lose a little bit, and over time those knots start to break down and they get hung up on things. There is a locking mechanism that will keep it from unwinding, but as I'm going, you'll hear it click as I go. And then simply walk and reel. That's actually the brake as it's going through the cogs. And then when we're putting it up, we just do the reverse. We simply unlatch it. Oftentimes I will grab this just to keep a little bit of tension on it. Come back, click my lock on, and then tighten my fence back up. And there we go.